Hi everyone. The next topic in each chapter is basically quadratic equations and inequations. So the first question, if x square minus 7x plus 12 is less than 0, then which of the following is true? So obviously it's a quadratic equation. You need to factorize that orally. So the product of the two numbers is plus 12 and the sum is plus 7. So the two numbers which will satisfy this are your 3 and 4, and those are your roots of the quadratic equation. And then, if you remember the idea, when the inequation sign is less than, what you are supposed to do is you are supposed to stay within the range. So your graph will be a normal parabola, cutting x-axis in the 2 points plus 3 and plus 4, because they are your roots of the equation after factorization, and less than sign tells us that it will be within the range. So between 3 and 4 is the value of x that will satisfy this inequation. So option 2 for the first question. Second question, x square plus 10x minus 39 is greater than 0, then which of the following is true? Similar funda, factorize the quadratic equation. Product is minus 39, sum is minus 10. The two numbers that will satisfy this is minus 13 and plus 3, and they are your roots of the quadratic equation. Normal U-shaped parabola, cutting x-axis in minus 13 and plus 3, because those are the roots of the equation. And now you look at the sign of the inequation, it is greater than 0. So greater than implies that it is beyond the range, and your range is minus 13 and plus 3. So you need to go beyond that. So minus 13 and plus 3 outside those values, and x is less than minus 13 or x is greater than plus 3. Those are the values of x that will satisfy your inequation, which is option 3. Third one, the product of two positive integers is 720. So I don't know which two integers are those. So let's assume them as x and y. So product, that is xy, is 720. One of the numbers is increased by 10 and the other one is reduced by 1. The product still remains unaltered. Again, I don't know which number is increased and which number is decreased. So it doesn't matter. You can take any one of them. So x plus 10 and y minus 1, the product is still 720. Two equation, two unknowns, solve them. You'll get the value of x and y. But the question is, we need to find out sum of the two original numbers. So I assumed xy, we are taking AB, irrelevant again, just a difference in the representation of the information. So AB is 720. One of them is increased by 10, other one is decreased by 1. A plus 10, B minus 1 is also 720. The product is unaltered. Solve that. When you multiply these two brackets, this is what you will get. AB plus 10B minus A minus 10 is equal to 720. AB, substitute 720, cancel out 720 from both the sides. You will be left with this part. Now you have two unknowns in the second equation. So from the first equation, what you can do is substitute A ka value as 720 upon B, or B ka value as 720 upon A, so that entire equation gets converted into only one variable. So when we do that, wherever we are seeing A, instead of that, we'll substitute 720 upon B in the second equation. So now this entire equation will be in B. Multiply throughout by B, you'll get 10B square plus 10B minus 720 is equal to 0. Divide throughout by 10 so that we can shorten the equation a bit. We'll get B square minus B minus 72 is equal to 0. Again, this is a quadratic equation in B. When you try to orally factorize, product is minus 72, sum is plus 1. The roots that will, or the numbers that will satisfy this, sum is plus 1 and product is minus 72, plus 9 and minus 8. But when you read the original data, it said that both the numbers are positive integers, and because of which minus 8 we cannot accept. So the value of B is plus 9. Substitute that in the first equation. You'll get the value of A as 720 upon 9, which is 80. Question was, find the sum of the original two numbers. The original two numbers are 80 and 9. When we add both of them, we'll get 89 as the answer, which is option one for the third question. Fourth one, find the range for which x plus 2 into x plus 5 is greater than 40. Now, obviously, we'll need to multiply both the brackets. We'll get x square plus 7x plus 10 is greater than 40. Take that 40 on this side, it will be minus. So plus 10 minus 40 will give me minus 30. So this was the only simplification which you needed. Now again, you have a quadratic wherein which the product is minus 30 and sum is minus 7. So product minus 30 and sum is minus 7. The roots of the equation after oral factorization will be minus 10 and plus 3. So minus 10 and plus 3, these are my roots. And if you look at the sign of inequation, it is greater than. If you remember the idea, greater than, you have to go beyond the range. So x is less than minus 10 or x is greater than plus 3. These are my roots of the equation, or these are my values of x that will satisfy this inequation, which gives you answer option 5. So for this entire topic, if you are saying the focus entirely is on factorizing the quadratic equation correctly, because a lot of things are going to be dependent on that as we go forward in this E module and we touch upon F module, because this is the basics that you need to understand in terms of solving. And then only two ideas in equation part: less than, beyond the range, greater than, sorry, less than, within the range, greater than, beyond the range. Fifth one, there is something wrong with this question in terms of representation. So we'll skip this for a while and we'll go to the next one. Sixth one, super interesting question, new idea that you are going to learn and you'll need to remember that for the long term. There are two quadratic equation and they say that they both have a common root. So whenever such case comes along that these two equations have a common root, always remember to equate both the equations. And then they are saying that find out a new equation whose roots are roots of the above equation but other than the common root. And then they have also given that the value of k is greater than 0. So both the equation have a common root. So let's equate both of them. When we equate and when we start solving, we'll get a relationship between x and k. So after a bit of solving, you should get x is equal to k. Now what you can do is substitute that in any one of the two quadratic equations. In place of x, you substitute that as k. So when you substitute that in the first equation, this is what you will get: k square minus 7k plus 2k is equal to 0. When you solve that, you will get the value of k as either 0 or 5. But if you remember the last line of the question, it said that the value of k is greater than 0. And that obviously will tell us that k cannot be equal to 0. That means k has to be equal to 5. So the moment we get the value of k, you can substitute that value in the original two equations and you will have the original two equations, which you can factorize later. So substitute k as 5. The first equation becomes x square minus 7x plus 10 is equal to 0. Second equation becomes x square minus 9x plus 20 is equal to 0. And now that we have both the quadratic equations, what we can do is we can factorize them and get our roots of the equations. So first equation, product is plus 10, sum is plus 7. The two numbers that will satisfy this is plus 2 and plus 5. The second equation, the product is 20 and the sum is plus 9. So the numbers that will satisfy this is plus 4 and plus 5. And after factorizing both the equations, and when we get the roots of both the equations, what you end up realizing is, yes, that these two equations had a common root, and we can see that plus 5 is the common root. But now the question was, we have to use the other one root from both the other two equations, and we have to form a new equation. So the new equation that we are supposed to form, it has two roots, which is 2 and 4, other than the common root, which is 5. So we have to find out a new equation whose roots are plus 2 and plus 4. And when you look at the options, only one option satisfies that, where the product will be 8, because if the roots are 2 and 4, the product will be plus 8 and the sum will be plus 6. So the required equation will be x square minus 6x plus 8 is equal to 0, which is option 4. So what is the new idea that we have learned here? Whenever you have a common root, equate both the equations and start solving. You will get something in terms of relation of x and k. Substitute that in any one of the equations, you'll find the value of k. Substitute the value of k in the original equations, you'll get the original equations. Factorize, you'll get the roots, you'll understand the common root, and then proceed further as a recap. The seventh one, the value of x that will satisfy this inequation. So two new things. One is the fractional power, and one is, apart from less than, there is less than equal to as the sign as well. So nothing changes as far as we are concerned for that part. We'll just carry it forward, the equal to sign everywhere. But fractional power, obviously, laws of indices will come into the picture from chapter D. And what you can do is substitute x raised to 1 by 3 by some variable. So let that be y. So when we replace x raised to 1 by 3 by y, we get a proper quadratic equation, which is y square plus y minus 2 is less than or equal to 0. So simple quadratic equation, when we try to orally factorize, we have product as minus 2 and sum as minus 1. So product minus 2 and sum minus 1, the numbers that will satisfy is minus 2 and plus 1. So the roots are minus 2 and plus 1, and the sign is less than. If you remember, less than, within the range. So the value of y will be between minus 2 and plus 1. But hold on, we were not supposed to find out the value of y. We were supposed to find out the value of x. So we need to resubstitute the value of y as x raised to 1 by 3. So instead of y, if we substitute x raised to 1 by 3, again the same thing as it is, copy paste. X raised to 1 by 3 is between minus 2 and plus 1, equal to as well as a same aspect. Now for finding out the value of x, we need to get rid of raised to 1 by 3. So raised to 1 by 3, for that we need to cube on all the sides. So when we cube both the sides, minus 2 ka cube will be minus 8, plus 1 ka cube will be plus 1, and the value of x is between minus 8 and plus 1, including both of them. So that is the answer option, which is option 1 as the answer for the 7th question. So fractional power, substitute that or replace that by some other variable, solve for a normal quadratic equation, and then when you have the answer, again resubstitute back and then simplify further, you should be getting the answer. Eighth one, again super interesting question, super difficult looking expression. We need to find out the value of x. Here what you can do is, if you use the common sense, x is root 4 plus something. So if I think from the actual value perspective and not solving perspective, root 4 is what? 2, and 2 plus something will be my answer. And a 2 point something will be my answer for the question. So 2 point something, you just need to look at which option will give me 2 point something as the answer. That is my answer. So first option, it says 3. So 2 point something is not 3. So first option goes off. Second option says root 13 minus 1 upon 2. Now this is where I need to find out at least approximately root 13 ka value. For that, numbers has to be good. And this is where the importance of having good approximation calculation skills comes into the picture, and it can be a great help when you're simplifying such type of questions. So root 13, obviously not a perfect square, between root 9 and root 16, that is between 3 and 4. So around 3.5, 3.6 is what I should assume. So I'll go ahead with 3.6. I don't know what is the actual value of root 13. This is just my guesstimation. So root 13 is 3.6. So second option, root 13 minus 1, that is 3.6 minus 1, which is 2.6. 2.6 divided by 2 is 1.3 approximately. So the second option gives me 1.3 approximately as the answer. So definitely that is not also the answer that I am looking at. Option 4, root 13. Root 13 is 3.6, so that is not also the answer. Option 5, root 13 upon 2, that is 3.6 upon 2, which is 1.8, which is also not the answer. So that leaves me with only one answer, which is option 3. So root 13 plus 1, that is 3.6 plus 1, which is 4.6. 4.6 upon 2 gives me 2.3. And yes, I was looking at 2 point something as the answer. So I think option 3 is my answer. So option 3 is the answer of this question without even simplifying or solving this expression. And this is what the good approximation skills will help you with. So 2.3 is only option 3 is giving me that value. Hence option 3 as the answer for the eighth one. Ninth one, it has a little bit of connection with the next idea, that is E3. So when we'll do E3 ka discussion, at that point of time we'll come back to that. So for now, we are done with quadratic equations and inequation, folks. Thank you so much.